What's up YouTube? It's your boy Wonder, and today I wanted to do a reactionary video to the content creator Manosphere Highlights Daily. They are an awesome channel. They great channel. Give them a follow. Give them a sub. And yeah, let's dive right into it. It's a very touchy subject, so I want to give it the its just dues. Okay. Play it from
between the age of 20 and 29 is in prison on parole, been arrested. I had some bump with the law.
So the topic is it surrounds the death of Kevin Samuels and how some black women had celebrated his death, and then it really dives into the past and how things came to be.
Over 50% of our prison population is black,
This
male,
is Sister Shahrazad, by the way.
We have more black men in prison than in college. 6 out of every 10 black men between the ages of 15 and 44 are unemployed, in jail, got some disease, homosexual, on drugs. 73% of all the black men in prison were raised by a single black woman in a home with no man. 80% of that 73% suffered child abuse in the home, victimized by the mother. 1/3 of our children drop out of school before they graduate. Over 60% of our households are headed by black women who are single, divorced, separated, or widowed. Yeah, we got a serious problem. And only God knows how many of our black babies we have killed through abortion. I think that's something the black man will never understand, how we kill that life in our womb because we decide we don't feel like taking care of it. It's too much of a hassle. Or we change our mind about how we feel about the man. So we have been in a very, very powerful position. We can make heaven or hell for the man, and we can decide who's going to live and die. Who's going to live and die. Who's going to live and die.
Raising a child is more than providing food and water. Your child will not stay a baby forever. And when it comes to raising a boy, only men can raise a boy to become a man. A lot of these men that women are complaining about are raised by women. It's clear that these girls are immature and raised by immature and incompetent parents. So what do you think is going to happen when a woman with this mindset has to deal with a man that's mature and has standards?
You young ladies think that this is a game. 23 is not young when you have a child. You're over here breathing like a petulant teenager.
I just feel like you're not really hearing me. You're not listening to
Kill the stream.
how.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
Like if you try to mess with a guy that everybody likes, it's gonna end up being crazy.
So this was an interview they did with Shaq, and he was just pretty much talking about not to go with somebody who has too many options. He was advising his daughters not to go with somebody who has far too many options. That man is most likely not going to be, loyal in that relationship. It's not going to be someone who's exclusive. So what Shaq was suggesting is that for his daughter to just simply find a good average person and have a great probably upper middle class lifestyle, but she comes from the generation where it's like the word average is a terrible thing to say to somebody. And anyways, let's dive into it.
And then I was telling them, don't mess nobody like your daddy, because your daddy used to be an animal like that.
A lot of women don't understand protection. They don't understand love. Shaq is telling his daughters to stay away from Chad and Tyrone, not because he hates his daughters. This is love. This is responsibility. He knows what he's talking about because of experience. So now he is protecting his daughters by telling them the truth. Women celebrating Kevin Samuels' death clearly don't understand that he was trying to help them. The foolishness. Now Kevin Samuels says something really interesting after the salute.
Why did I do that? Because that would have gone on for 5 hours. And I want to tell you something. Notice the difference between the emotional maturity of the 22-year-old and the 42-year-old.
My theory, I don't know if somebody in the manosphere has mentioned this before, but I think a woman's emotional cap is probably like at 15, 16 years old. You get to a point where if triggered, a 40, 50, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old woman is going to behave as if she's 15 years old.
Notice the emotion. Notice how they were talking. It's not fair. It's not this. It's not that. Our black women.
And another thing too is that growing up, you think that, okay, well, it's understood that that men are, less emotional, women are more emotional, so you tend to go to them if you have like, emotion, or at least that was the thinking that I had back in the day. You tend to go to them if you had any emotional, if you needed somebody to talk to or whatnot, because they're supposed to be the emotional one of the two, so they've had more experience with their emotions, they know how to better handle it, that sort of thing. It would make sense, but you come to find out that men have more of a mastery over their emotions, whereas women they just don't pass that 15, 16-year-old threshold.
And sold a Disney fantasy of relationship and marriage.
He talks about the similarity in maturity levels between a 40-year-old and a 23-year-old. Both women probably never had a father in their lives and never had a man tell them what to do. So they both showed an emotional response, just like mama. They don't know how to handle the situation. Remember this, girl?
I don't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
This was back in
I don't want no man holding me down. I think I can make it as a single parent. Let's go back to Mr. Samuels.
Our black women have been sold a Disney fantasy of relationship and marriage, to where even when you got men who are working, doing what they're supposed to, I'm not happy. Nope. You got a woman going to get welfare instead of being with her husband.
In this documentary, you see single mothers collecting their welfare checks and food stamps. When this girl is talking about making it as a single parent, government assistance is something that she can rely on, just like her mother is relying on government assistance. The vicious circle continues. So when men are trying to break this vicious circle, it's not going to happen without a fight, without resistance, because women apparently feel comfortable with the way things are going, despite the bad results that still apply to this day. And that brings us to the next factor that plays a big role in the bigger picture.
The sisterhood. They call it the sisterhood, back when I was sort of diving into the red pill space, I called it the hive mind. I think someone else calls it hive mind as well, but it's just, sisterhood is a little different. Sisterhood is like they'll all agree with each other. Hive mind is like they all come to the same conclusion. I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation, but they're very, very similar in ideology.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One
person. And see how they all laugh and shame that one person. Why would you have a child with somebody who you would not? First of all, why would you have a child out of wedlock? That's one thing. Again, we all know this. Everyone in this space knows the statistics. You have a disadvantage in almost every metric, but to reproduce with somebody who you wouldn't even see as husband material is just baffling to me. Any stranger would do at this point.
When the ladies were asked if they wanted to marry the father of their child, only one lady raised her hand, and she was kind of embarrassed because of it, because her peers did not want to get married to the father of their children, or maybe some more of these ladies wanted to marry the father of their children, but because the majority of their peers did not raise their hands, these ladies decided to follow because they wanted to feel accepted and valued by their peers. Going against your peers, going against the sisterhood, can have serious consequences. Shahrazad Ali wrote a book called The Black Man's...
By the way, I just ordered that book too. I really, I'm ashamed to say this, but I really don't read that often. I'm either doing homework, textbooks, online, whatever, but I don't read like an actual, well thought out book. But yeah, I ordered that. It's should be I put it on rush delivery. It should be arriving in like 2-3 days.
Guide to understanding the black woman in.
And if depending on what I find in the content, I'll probably do like a reactionary, maybe break down each chapter or whatnot on, you know, and I'll see how that compares to the modern woman.
1989, and look what happened to her.
All I have heard from you is negativity. This is what I call the black man's guide to misunderstanding the black woman.
You only attack the African American woman for what she has not done. You do not give directions. You do not put down advice.
I didn't want to get emotional about this, but I'm a mother. And I'm going to tell you, this young man and yourself, you know, for some of the statements you make in there, and you're saying all the derogatory things you do. I have raised 2 boys by myself. My husband is dead. I work, I go to school, I raise my 2 sons. One of them is in college right now. The other one is in high school. They're nice, young, down men, and they don't have any. I have no
See that sisterhood? See that sisterhood? One defector gets shamed by the entire community, you know, and it's fascinating too because that whole dynamic doesn't come to play with men. I could vehemently disagree with another man, but I wouldn't attack them for it. It's like, hey, we all have our different opinions. It's like they're mortally wounded by someone who's defecting to the hive mentality.
About a black man. And one of the things is that you say in your book, you don't say anything that we nurture. I work in the community. I work in the church.
You got a whole lot of nerve to ask me to sign a contract to show you that I love you. First of all, there's nothing that a man can do for me that I can't do for myself. I got a job and I don't need shit from you. You got a whole lot of I love you. You got who the hell you think I'm telling you to sign a contract to show you that I love you?
She pissed a lot of people off, black women in particular. Now, why would they get so mad? Check this out.
How can so many black women be hurt by this book, be so enraged over it, and there's no truth in it? You know, if there's no truth, why are you so enraged? If you're not in it, you don't know nobody in it, what's all the excitement? If you write me a book and say, I saw a man with 4 heads walking down the street.
That's like that comparison. I like to make this comparison. It's like if a dude, right, walks into a room with all females and he's like, oh, women ain't shit, all of them will be mad. Oh, how dare you say If a woman walks into a room with all men and says, oh, men ain't shit, you're like, shit, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, and just keep it moving. Like a statement like that would never affect a collective of men, is what I'm trying to say.
You know, hey, it don't apply to nothing I know about. I don't even pick up the book. You know, but now if it's a truth and it's touching you, and maybe it's uncovering you, or maybe it's giving your old man a chance to peep at you, then maybe you want to close that mouth up. You know, seem like to me the ones who's complaining are the most out of control women I have ever seen. And they say they're not out of control.
Let's do another one.
They didn't have that information. The book is really a book that puts the black man on point because it tells him what he has allowed to happen to his woman and his children. And he can never again say he didn't know what was going on because I have told him. See, it's never been an issue about whether or not the book is true or not, brother. The issue has been that I was not supposed to tell.
I was not supposed to tell.
The truth hurts. Remember this?
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
Responsibility and commitment. We all know that these things are a modern woman's kryptonite, and just like Shahrazad Ali, Kevin Samuels was exposing the mentality of modern black women and modern women in general to the world.
I'm not saying we should have a special victim
really
status,
good.
but our circumstance is different. We are women.
We are less. You're 24 years old. Is your circumstance harder or easier than your grandmother and your great-grandmother?
Exponentially easier. We have access to information we didn't have.
Exponentially easier, but you're handling it worse. Your grandmother, your great-grandmother actually could work with a black man with more trauma.
Because they understood that the black woman and the black man are on the same side. Now that we are all free and independent and we could do whatever we want to, why would we seek to, be one with the black man? We even think that being...
Thank you. Clip it, slice it, put it on World Star. She said it, not me. Now that you're independent, You
We
don't
don't
need to be
have
with.
trust.
There you go.
We don't
There
have
you
trust
go.
for the
And
black
there
man.
and there
We
you
don't.
go. And there you go.